Maseches Kiddushin Daf Lamed Aleph continues the Gemara's discussion of the halachos and the agada of the mitzvah of kibbud of aim, honoring one's father and mother, also including how it relates to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we've seen that the kavod to do HaKadosh Baruch Hu is compared to that to one's father and mother. So the Gemara begins with a brisa that was quoted to Rabbi Nachman. When a person is mitzayir, when he causes pain to his father or his mother, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, as it were, it's good that I didn't live amongst them, amongst either this family or Klal Yisrael, because just like they're causing pain to their parents, had I been there, they would cause pain to me as well. It says of Yitzchak, anybody who violates an Aveira in hiding, that is, he doesn't want anybody to see him, but apparently he's not concerned that the Shekhinah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will see him, so therefore he's making it as if Hashem is not there. So he's pushing the feet of the Shekhinah, because the feet of the Shekhinah, as it were, fill the world, like it says, Kayama Hashem Hashmayim Kisi. Hashem says, the heavens are my throne, va'aretz hadayim raglai, and the land is my footstool. And he's pushing it away as if to say, if I go in hiding, I don't have to worry about anybody seeing me. He's denying that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is aware or that he's present there, and therefore he's pushing away his feet. Says Rabbi Shua ben Levi, it's forbidden for someone to walk into upright of a posture, because it says Melech La'aretz Kivaydi, the entire earth is filled with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's honor, and if he walks in this upright, haughty way, it's as if he's pushing the HaKadosh Baruch Hu out. It says Rav Huna, son of Rabbi Yeshua, Rav Huna braid Rav Yeshua would never walk 4 amos with an exposed head. He would say the Shekhinah is above my head, and therefore I have to cover my head as a sign of respect. Now, the son of an almana went and asked Rabbi Eliezer, what's the halacha? If my father says give me a drink of water and my mother says give me a drink of water, who should I give first? So he said, you should honor your father first because you and your mother are both obligated in the honor of your father. So the orphan went and asked the same question to Rabbi Yeshua, and he gave him the same answer. So he said, Rabbi, if my parents are divorced, so my mother is no longer obligated in the covenant of my father, what should I do then? So Rabbi Yeshua said, I could tell from your eyelashes that you're the son of an almana. Rashi explains because the tears that he cried at the loss of his father made his eyelashes fall out. And he answered, therefore, in a humorous way, he said, take a pail of water, put it between them, and chirp at them like chickens to come and have a drink. Gemara quotes that Joshua said by Ula Rabbah at the entrance to the house of the Nasi. What is Pshat? He asks. It says, all the nations of the world will pay homage to you because they've heard the utterings, imre, plural, of your mouth. What is the plural? What is the multiple things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that caused this praise? So the Gemara says it has to do with the Aseres HaDibros. When Hashem began the Aseres HaDibros and he said, Anoichi, and then the second one was Lo Yeh Lecha, so the nations of the world said, oh, he's talking about his own kavod, that's what he wants. But then when they heard Kabbalah Savicha Vesimecha, they understood that the kavod was for others, and therefore they reflected on the first thing that they said, and they were modeh on that as well. Rava said a similar concept you see from a different pasuk in Tehillim. It says, Rosh Dorcha Emes U'Olam Kol Mishpat Tzidkecha. The beginning of your words are true. Only the beginning of your words are true. What about the end of it? So he says, no, from the end you understand that the beginning is true. When it said the mimer of Akapis V'Chavesimecha, we understood the truth, we understood the depth of Anoichi and Lo Yeh Lecha. The Gemara now brings the story of Dama ben Nisina, well known. The Gemara actually brings 2 Chachamim who used it as an example of how much one should do kibbud of aim. The Gemara says the question was asked to Rav Ula, how far does kibbud of aim go? And he referenced the Dama ben Nisina. The Gemara quotes how he set up the story, just the fact that the Chachamim wanted to do a business deal with him for 600,000 coins, and he refused because his key to where whatever they wanted was under his father's head, and he didn't want to wake him up. Rav Yehuda says the name of Shmuel that they asked Rabbi Eliezer, and here he gave the same answer, but he expanded on the story. He said that the Chacham wanted to buy one of the stones for the ephod. It cost 600,000 coin. The Gemara doesn't say what the denomination was. Rav Kahana says it was 800,000, and the key was under the head of his father, and therefore he didn't want to bother him, and therefore he lost the deal. The next year, Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him a paraduma, and the Chachamim came to buy the paraduma from him. He said, I know that no matter how much I ask for it, you'll pay it, but all I'm going to ask for is the exact money that you wanted to pay me for the stone last year that I lost because I showed honor to my father. Says the Gemara, imagine how great it is, he who acted without being commanded, he's not obligated. Certainly someone who is commanded is even greater, like another Bechanina says, Gadol mitzvahs and Misha'enu mitzvahs, it's greater to do something that you're commanded to do than it is to do something that you're not commanded to do. The Gemara talks about this briefly. The Gemara says, Rav Yosef says, I used to say that if anybody could show me that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that a blind person is patur from all the mitzvahs, I would make him a big suda for everybody, because Rabbi Yosef was blind, and Rabbi Yosef was saying, I'm doing the mitzvahs anyway, and I thought that it's greater to do it voluntarily, so I was going to make a big celebration that I have this extra greatness if the halacha is that a blind person like me is not obligated in the mitzvahs. But then I heard what Rabbi Chanina said, that it's greater to do something that you're commanded than it is to do something that you're not commanded. And then I said, if somebody will show me that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore I, even though I'm blind, am mitzvah, I would make a suda because I'm mitzvah v'aisa. Going back to Doma ben Asina, the Gemara says that Rav Dimi records that one time he was wearing very expensive clothing made of silk interwoven with gold, and he was sitting between the leaders of Rome, and his mother came, and she tore it from him, she slapped him, and she spit in his face, and he did not respond. The Gemara now quotes a brisa brought by Avimi Beit Rabbi Avo. He says it's possible for somebody to feed his father rich, fatty quail, and yet to cause him such pain as if to chase him from the world. And the opposite is true. He can make his father grind at the mill and yet save his life and cause him to enjoy the world. How are these two things possible? So the Gemara doesn't explain. Rashi quotes Yerushalmi that if he's rude to him while he's feeding him the best food, that's not worth it. So, for example, he says there was someone who was feeding his father these fatty, rich foods, and his father said, where is this from? And he said, oh man, just chew it up, grind it up, and eat it. So that causes the pain that makes it all not worth it. And the opposite is where there was an old man who was obligated to go serve the king, and his son was grinding the flour, and he said, Father, you grind the flour instead of me, I'll go serve for you, because that service is going to be much harder. And therefore he's saving him by doing the same thing. Now, having mentioned Avimi, son of Rabbi Avo, so the Gemara quotes Rabbi Avo, who says that someone like my son Avimi fulfilled the mitzvah of kibud. That's how real kibbud av should be fulfilled. The Gemara says that Avimi had 5 sons who were all Bali Hara, they were all Chashava people, yet when his father, Rabbi Avo, would come to visit, Avimi would run to open the gate himself, wouldn't let any of the sons do it, and the entire time as he was running to the gate, he would say, I'm coming, I'm going to open it. One day his father asked him for a drink, and when he came back with the drink, his father had fallen asleep. So he stood and he waited until his father woke up. He didn't want to wake him up, and it didn't want to make him wait for the drink when he did wake up, so he stood there and he waited. As he stood there, he was given from Shemayim the pshat and a pasuk in the Tehillim, which he had always wondered about Mizmor Asaf. Rashi explains, it says Mizmor Asaf Elikim Bo Goyim Benachal Asecha, referring to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and Habibi had always wondered, why isn't a Mizmor? A Mizmor is usually a happy tefillah. This should be a kina, this should be a sad, a dirge. And that his answer was that it's a praise, and David HaMelech was happy that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to take out his punishment on the sticks and stones of the Beis Hamikdash as opposed to on the people of Klal Yisrael. Next, the Gemara quotes that Rav Bar Yaakov said to Abaye, somebody like me, my parents love me very much. When I come home from yeshiva, my father has drawn a cup for me, and my mother has mixed the drink for me, so what should I do? So he said, you should accept it from your mother, not from your father. Since your father is a ben Torah, it will cause you to lose your learning if you accept service from him. Your father as a ben Torah should not be serving you. Then the Gemara brings the famous story of Rabbi Tarfon and his mother. The Gemara says Rabbi Tarfon's mother was old, and every time she needed to get into the bed, Rabbi Tarfon would bend over on the floor so that she could use him as a stepping stool. She would step on him to get into bed, and every time she got off the bed, she would have to do the similar thing. She would have to step onto him. So she came to the Beis Medrash and was praising his level of kavod. So they said that he hasn't reached the kavod of half of what he's obligated. If she would have thrown a wallet full of money into the sea and he wouldn't have responded, that would be true kibbud aim. Gemara records about Rav Yosef when he would hear the footsteps of his mother coming. He would say, "I'm going to stand up before the Shechina, which is coming." Rabbi Yechanan said, "Lucky is one who never saw his parents, because it is too difficult to keep the mitzvah of kibbud avim properly, and one probably violated the aver b'nan doing it right." And Rabbi Yechanan himself never did. The Gemara says when his mother became pregnant with him, his father died, and when his mother gave birth to him, she died. The Gemara says that Abaye also never saw his parents. The Gemara asks, but Abaye often quotes his mother. He says, "Amrli Aim." The Gemara says it's not referring to his birth mother; it's referring to his adoptive mother. The Gemara now brings another incident. The Gemara says that Rav Asi's mother was old, and she said to him, "I'd like some jewelry." So he made her jewelry. And she said, "I'd like a husband." So he said, "Okay, I'll try to find you one." So she said, "No, I want one as beautiful as you." So he was unable to satisfy her. He left and he went to Eretz Yisrael. And he heard that she was coming to Eretz Yisrael as well. So he came to Rav Yechanan and said, "Am I allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael?" So he said, "No." He said, "Can I go leave Eretz Yisrael to greet my mother?" So he said, "I'm not sure. Wait a little bit." He came back a little bit later and he saw him coming. He said, "Look, if you really want to go to Chutz La'aretz, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu should return you in peace." So he went, and then he asked Rabbi Elazar, "Was Rabbi Yechanan angry at me that I asked him these things?" So he said, "What did he say to you?" He said, "May Hashem return you in peace." He said, "If he would have been upset at you, he would not have given you a bracha." At this time, he heard that his mother had passed away and that her coffin was coming to Eretz Yisrael. He said, "Had I known that that was the case, I would never have left." Next, the Gemara speaks about the halacha of being mechabed one's father in his speech. So the Gemara quotes Brisa that says you should honor your father in his lifetime and after his passing in his lifetime. The way to do that would be if you're ever asking for something and you're in a place where people respect your fathers, you should ask for it in deference to your father, in covet for him. Even if they have the same covet for you, ask in your father's merit. That way it's mechabed your father. So you shouldn't say, "Let me leave, send me off, or rush me out," in my merit, but in my father's merit. Now, after the passing of one's father, he should say as follows. Within the first 12 months, whenever he quotes him, he should say, he should refer to his father as Abba Mari, my father, my master. Hareini kaparas mishkavai. I am an atonement for his passing. And that's only within 12 months because it refers to his father's judgment in the next world, which couldn't be more than 12 months. Afterwards, he should just say, Zichrona Levracha, may his memory be in blessing l'chaya il haba, for the life of the next world. Now, Gemara concludes with a brisa that says when a chacham is giving a shir and he quotes his father or his rebbe, he should not mention him by name. He should tell the Torgamon, the one who is going to repeat it after him and announce it in a loud voice, he should say to him, "My father, my master, Abba Mari," or Rebbe Mari, and then the Torgamon should say the name. So the Gemara says that we're obviously talking about the father and the Rebbe of the Chacham, not the father and the Rebbe of the Maturgamon. The father of the Rebbe and the Maturgamon also can't say their name. He's also obligated in these halachos. It's referring to the Chacham's father. The Gemara says when Mar, the son of Rav Ashi, would give a shir, he would say, "So said my father, my master, Abba Mari," and the speaker would say, "So said Rav Ashi."